Hi, we're Jonathan and Jennifer, and this is Well Traveled Life.
And we are in Little Italy, a district of
we're not.
San Diego.
Yeah.
We're talking about Little Italy, a district in San Diego.
Yeah, and we chose on this particular night for this video that you're about to see a food tour of Little Italy.
A food tour. Why did we choose a food tour?
Because we like food.
We love Italian food.
Yeah, we do.
But there's more to this story than just Little Italy and the amazing food. This is a completely revitalized district that looked nothing like this when Jonathan and I lived here when we were younger.
Yeah, Jennifer and I had both lived in San Diego for extended periods of time. I was in the Navy back in the, I guess it would have been the early mid-70s.
And I was going to university there in the late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah. And at that time, I remember going to Little Italy for dinner, and had great food at that time, but the area was a little rundown. There were vacant storefronts. It just obviously had seen better days.
Yeah, and it just wasn't a place we ever really went for anything special. But in 1996, all of that changed. And that association has just done a magnificent job, and it could teach us all a lesson in what a revitalization looks like.
Yeah,
in the community.
without losing the charm and the local restaurants, and it doesn't feel like obviously there are tourists there, but a lot of locals too, and it just still has that charm that it did without maybe some of the rougher edges.
And the tourists that are there for the history and the culture. It's not an amusement park. This is a real neighborhood with real people who are celebrating their culture.
Yeah. And our guide that evening had, while not a native of San Diego, had lived there long enough that he had lived through the changes that he experienced.
He was on the bottom floor of that revitalization movement. He was really at the forefront of it.
I was about to see the restaurants that he chose that night were great, and we met great local owners, and really contributed a lot to the experience that night.
Great restaurants. How about great food?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Little Italy is entirely walkable and is probably best seen on foot, though there is a trolley that goes through there, and you can get Ubers, taxis, and even trikes. Our food tour started at the M Wine Market in the heart of Little Italy. Our host Anthony was amazing.
What a gorgeous night tonight, huh?
Yeah.
We walked to 3 different restaurants, had 10 different dishes, and stopped along the way to learn history and stories of this incredible revival of Old Town Little Italy.
Our first reservation is at 4:30. I'm going to take you over here, and I want to show you some things that will kind of set up the story, so you'll understand how the neighborhood came to be. And our first stop is right over here.
We both lived in San Diego in the 80s and 90s, and I want to be really clear. At that point in time, Little Italy was not a tourist destination. So what has happened since then has really been a tremendous story of revitalization. And with Jonathan's history as a city manager and city attorney, he understands that process and was so able to see what they had done to transform this neighborhood. They were able to bring back the history and keep it alive, but make it modern and new, and it has something special. And really, food is what's special. Piazza Barcellona is a gathering place for both reflection and connection. It is the memorial site for the 12 boys from the district of Little Italy who didn't come home from the wars of the 20th century. The piazza is named after Gunnery Sergeant Basilone.
Sergeant Basilone won the Medal of Honor during the fight on Guadalcanal for extraordinary bravery. Was sent home, was a hero, was asked to sell war bonds and speak to the public, and he did that, but he felt an immense need to get back to his comrades in arms and spent his time trying to get back to the front and was successful, landed with troops on Iwo Jima, and he was killed on the first day in some of the heaviest fighting on Iwo Jima.
He is one of the only military members to be awarded with both the Medal of Honor and the Navy Cross. Another quintessential Little Italy landmark is the Piazza della Famiglia. This area is home to one of the largest farmers markets in the county. It is also a gathering place for friends and family. It's a mixed-use residential, commercial, and retail space. This European-style piazza offers 10,000 square feet that visitors can stroll through on West Date Street, connecting India and Columbia Streets. There is a tiled fountain and tables with chairs and umbrellas which line the cobblestone street, inviting the public to take in the beautiful scene and the San Diego Bay views, and is marked by the olive tree, the symbol of family, roots, and connection for the neighborhood.
Thank you very much.
The first food stop we made was at Davanti, featuring a man-made olive tree that was used in the movie Vanilla Sky and imported from the set to the restaurant. Our first dish was an absolute win. It was a fried artichoke, and it included the heart as well as the leaves. You eat the whole thing, and it was spectacular. It was combined with a Calabrian chili aioli, which just means that it was sort of like a mayonnaise with some spice to it, but it was perfect.
So I want you all to put some on your plate.
That was a great start, but it was nothing compared to what came next. This was a handmade focaccia bread that was stuffed with 3 different cheeses. It had mascarpone, a ricotta, and Sturchino cheese. But unlike the original recipe from 1080 for this thin focaccia, this was covered with a honeycomb that we hand poured on top, perfectly balancing the sweet from the honey with that salty savory from the bread and the cheese. Throughout the evening, all of the guests in our party kept coming back to this as perhaps one of our favorites. There were no leftovers for this dish. Our last dish at Davanti was a white corn polenta that was spread on a wooden cutting board and filled with a pork shoulder ragu that had been cooked with celery, carrots, onions, bay leaf, red wine, and tomatoes to a tender perfection. Like the focaccia, this is more of a northern and central Italian favorite. And like the focaccia, this was a group favorite. During the tour, we were all able to purchase beverages at our own cost. A number of us started with an Aperol Spritz, which is a traditional Italian aperitif. Aperol has an orange flavor, but it's not a sweet orange flavor, and for some it's an acquired taste. I made my Aperol Spritz with limoncello. It's made from sparkling wine, club soda, whatever the alcohol of choice is, and lots of ice. So it is cool and refreshing and a perfect palate cleanser for your meal. We had a salad, a pasta, a risotto, and handmade bread at Solunto, which was just down the street.
Solunto is one of my favorite places in the neighborhood. I hope it's going to be one of yours.
With this meal, we were served a homemade bread made with sesame seeds, which is a tradition for southern Italy, not so much in the north, and a homemade dipping sauce that was really special, made from organic Roma tomatoes, a little bit of lemon juice, some pesto, and Calabrian chili flakes. The sauce is not cooked, it's made fresh and by hand, meaning there is no machines made. Everything is hand chopped, hand cut, hand stirred.
Italian stews, they take this sauce, they put it on the dish, they take it to the bread, they make a mess. We call it fare la scarpetta.
The bread was soft and the dipping sauce was so fresh and really had a hint of something different. Rice is a staple around the world, but in Italy it raises itself to new heights. This risotto starts with an arborio rice, which is toasted and then sauteed with onions, and slowly liquid is added to it in the form of vegetable broth and white wine. And as that liquid wears down the skin of the rice, it dissolves, giving this an incredibly creamy texture. This risotto contains sweet peppers, a house-made Italian sausage, gorgonzola cheese, some tomatoes, saffron, white wine, and wild mushrooms. In this course, we were served two kinds of gnocchi, a pesto cream gnocchi and one in a white truffle cream sauce.
The gnocchi, they're like cuscinetti, they're like pillows.
In 1532, during the week of Carnevale, the week just before Lent, gnocchi was invented. It was made in response to a starvation that was happening in Verona at the time. They had potatoes on hand, and using potatoes, flour, eggs, water, and Parmigiano cheese, they concocted this absolutely delightful, fluffy pillow of a pasta, gnocchi. Gnocchi is probably one of my favorite all-time meals, and this is one of the best gnocchis I've ever had in my life, including gnocchi I've eaten in northern Italy. In America, we tend to eat salads at the beginning of a meal, but in Italy, in the old world, a salad is eaten at the end of the meal. And that's because it helps with your digestion, gets your palate ready for dessert, and this particular salad was especially primed for that. It included candied pecans and a balsamic reduction that really lent a sweet flavor to the extra virgin olive oil, the saltiness of a goat cheese, and the arugula lettuce, which has a little bit of a bitter flavor to it. One of the guests was celebrating a birthday, and they surprised her with a cake, and we all got to celebrate with a bit of tiramisu.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lauren. Happy birthday to you.
Little Italy, along with the Portuguese neighborhoods across the harbor, grew up around fishing. Salt cod, mackerel, and sardines were the primary fish being caught. But overfishing made them scarce, and they were forced to turn to a new fish. That was tuna. San Diego became home to one of the largest canning industries in the world until stricter fishing regulations in the 1970s and 80s created stricter regulations on the quotas on tuna that could be caught. Mama and Papa Filippi opened a grocery store in 1926. Their restaurant opened in 1950, but it's the grocery store that has the history. Fishermen used to have wine delivered to them from the grocery, and they would return the bottle with their grocery list, thus creating a large bottle-style Excel spreadsheet of inventory and accounts. We walked through both the restaurant and the grocery store and had a bit of a treat with some marzipan, which was not actually from the old country, but invented here and is a childhood favorite for anybody of this age. Our final stop was at Sucro. Sucro means sugar, and this shop has all of that for baked goods, sweet treats, and anything delectable and dessert oriented. This is the place to go in Little Italy. It is also where we had the last dish of the evening, a cup of gelato. We came for a little bit of history, a little bit of love, and a lot of fun. But it was more than all that. This was more than a food tour. This was a lesson in revitalization, the value of immigrants and their incredible stories, and the need for community and what we can build together. We've put a link in the description box for all of the restaurants we went to, as well as Anthony's tour. If you are coming to San Diego, this is a can't miss experience. Check out our other San Diego videos about where to go, what to do, and where to stay. Join us with our other videos from San Diego. We have places for you to stay and other things for you to do, especially in the downtown area.
That's a very sophisticated term, but we appreciate it. What's going on with my hair here?